I only wish that this vaccination was available when I was younger so that I did not have to go through uh, the cancer that I went through and the pain that it caused myself and my family. Um, it's so important that the school nurses educate themselves first and pass it along to everyone involved at the schools and get these children vaccinated.
I was a school nurse for a while. I was an elementary school nurse. And this was back in the 80s when I got started, and I had no idea about this issue. I would hate to think that there's information out there, such as this, that I can share with a parent, and I didn't know about it, and that I couldn't share or didn't share. Had going backwards, if this was out there, I would certainly make it an agenda item to make sure my parents knew to have this discussion, to talk about this. You'd hate to see one of your kids, you see students later on, and to find out that they had cervical cancer, they had HPV, and you never had that discussion and you knew. It's not just for now, it's for down the road. I was 40. So if you do it now, you don't have to have this discussion with them down the road because they're protected. So yeah, and I can imagine I have some friends that would say, "Oh, I'm not discussing that. My kid don't need that." And I'm like, "But it's not an image thing. My kid is perfect, or it's that I want to protect my child for life."
I know being a minority, it's very difficult many times for us because of our cultures to believe that we should bring this to the forefront of our families and share it with our husbands and our wives. But it's very important that they understand that as a culture, we need to get past the perception of sexual activity and promiscuity that gets introduced when we bring up vaccinating our children with the HPV vaccination.
In 2007, my son would have been almost 14. I think already by then we had gone to Kelsey-Seybold and the HPV shots were available for girls, and I asked for him to have it as a boy, and they were like, "We've never given it to boys." And I was like, "You know what? I think he's going to have sex someday, and it might be with a girl. So I think you want to give it to him." So he was the first boy at Kelsey-Seybold to get that. If that would have been an option at school, I totally would have wanted the school nurse to have done it. And I just am so grateful that he was able to get that. And I just think every school nurse should be trying to make sure that everybody is vaccinated so they don't go through what I just talked about. I mean, there's no reason for it. I also lost my grandmother to cervical cancer, and I watched her die. I think it was the summer of '69, and that didn't need to happen.
So when you break that wall down with a parent, I think you can have as a nurse, a much better conversation, and that this can happen at any point in life. Um, and it doesn't mean anything bad. Your child is bad. Your child is doing something wrong. It can happen to anybody. It happens to the best of us. Be proactive. You are a key source of information. If they don't hear some things from you, they will never hear it. Probably, maybe in a lifetime. So be that person, put it out there. Let them make the decision, but let them be informed. You would never want to face a parent or a student years later and saying, "Why didn't you tell me this? Why didn't you share it with me?" There are so many different ways to have a conversation like this and make it comfortable. Have a breakfast, have a lunch, a luncheon. Just invite them out and put some cookies on the table and tell them and let them know this is some information that I want you to know. I want you to be informed. The decision is yours.
Advocate for your patients, advocate for your kids, and educate the parents on getting this vaccine, because it will save, not only save lives, but it will just promote health and it will just save everybody so much trouble and trauma, money. So please, please advocate for your kids.
24 years ago, we did not have the opportunity to get vaccinated with the HPV virus or against the HPV virus. So please do everything that you can to share with your students and your parents the importance of getting these kids vaccinated to preventing them from getting the 6 different kinds of cancers that are associated to HPV. As soon as I learned what HPV vaccination and the benefits of it were, I was able to get my 2 sons vaccinated, and they are boys. So this does not just only happen to girls. This happens to boys as well. In their role as school nurses, it is their responsibility to share as much information about the HPV vaccination with the kids and the families that they serve throughout their school system. It's very important to keep your personal opinion out of it and be as factual as possible without being crossing boundaries or disrespecting them. It's important to really understand the demographics of the population that you serve and to really go about sharing that message with them in a respectful way so that they don't feel that you are communicating to them and it's really not going to hit home. Every culture has a different way of receiving that message, and if you really take the time to understand and be sensitive to what that diversity is all about, you're able to be more impactful when you convey that information to them, and they'll receive it much better.
Educate people, if we can educate school nurses to take this seriously, to get vaccinated, we're going to help our children and our children's children for a long, long time.
To think that you as a school nurse can save anybody that kind of trauma of even having these, kind of conversations or thinking about this or experiencing it, it's an incredible gift to be able to, help kids out. So I'd encourage anybody to let them be spared, these experiences.
The only thing better than surviving cancer is preventing it. And why wouldn't we do that? It's safe, it's effective, and it's administered to boys and girls beginning at age 9. And gosh, I wish I had done that for my kids. I do. I think it's one of the greatest gifts you can give your kids. So share my story. It's a cautionary tale. I'm an anal cancer survivor. My daughter has a high-risk strain of the HPV virus. I lost my younger sister to an HPV-related cancer. And so our story doesn't have to be anyone else's story because there's a vaccine that prevents all of these cancers.
If you can cure cancer by a vaccine, you need to do it. You don't want to go through what I went through and what my buddies have gone through and what the people that I was going through treatment with went through. We were all taking a shot.